I smell a decade and list. Yeah.
True North Reviews, True North Reviews, True North Reviews.
Hi there, welcome to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the best albums of the decade, the 2010s. I have been planning this video for months. It was getting to the point when talking to other people, I was making ironic jokes that this video won't come out for another decade. I mean, we're already halfway through a new year of a new decade, so what's the point of putting it out? I just had to get it out, okay? I'm happy, I'm glad, I'm proud that this finally is here for you guys to watch. All of the listening, the fine-tuning of the list itself, the writing, the editing, it's a blur at this point. I don't really want to go back and think of the dark times I had with this because today it's all about the positivity. For those of you who may know, I love talking about music and talking about music I don't love so much, but this video is different because I guess it's all about praise. Praise for the artists who put in even more effort than what I could ever do with this video, guaranteed. Here is what I believe are the best albums that came out in the past decade. Maybe they'll stand the test of time. We'll have to wait and see. Again, I can't say it enough. I am excited for this. After all, True North Reviews is a channel founded on passion and love for music. I know you guys have that same passion for your own picks, so please make sure to join the conversation. Comment down below, leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends about this channel, and we'll get the party started. Now, as an idea for what qualified on this list, a lot qualified. Genres all across the board, artists from all around the world. Basically, if I heard an album in full enough times to feel like it's great and it was put out in between 2010 and 2019 inclusively, it could be on this list. In terms of what albums you can expect on here, these are some of the most definitive of an artist's career, some of the most influential albums too, and if not that, they played into the bigger landscape of culture or definitely my own personal life. So 100 albums are a lot to get through, and because I don't want to bore or overwhelm you, we're going to float the bottom 50 by on the screen right now. If you want to pause the video, take a closer look, please do so, and we will continue with the top 50 for more explanations on their placement. Alright, starting with the top 50. At number 50, we have OK Go and their album Of the Blue Color of the Sky. With this pick, we are going all the way back to the beginning of the decade, essentially the earliest album on my list here that's eligible. I think it was put out in the first or second week of the 2010s. Arguably, OK Go are a band more well known for their music videos, but as meticulous and mind-blowing those visuals are, OK Go also enhanced their aesthetic by giving listeners ridiculously anthemic alt-rock jams on this record that are as ear-grabbing as they are eye-grabbing. As a Canadian myself, you couldn't get through this video without seeing some Canadian artists, and that's exactly what we're getting at the 49th spot with Current Swell's Ulysses. This was a hidden gem from 2014. It revolves a lot of its melodies around guitar, which it seemed like an instrument that was constantly brushed aside during the 2010s. Trust me, if your worries of rock and roll being dead are still there, it is very much alive and being given a second breath with this Current Swell record. Moving on to number 48, we have Foster the People with Torches. This is an indie pop album that took the world by storm in 2011. It produced the sleeper hit of Pumped Up Kicks, but beyond that, this platinum-selling project is a delight. It deserves a lot of praise. I think Mark Foster deserves a lot of credit for what he did, not only on this album, but what he did for the alt-rock scene of the 2010s. He wrote so many catchy hooks, you could just have them stuck in your head for days. At 47, we have Childish Gambino and his record Because the Internet. Now, while many critics would prefer the psychedelic rock and funk fusion of Awaken My Love, I gotta go against that, gotta go against the grain, gotta be the devil's advocate. Because out of this past decade, all that Donald Glover did between singing, acting, rapping, all that stuff, the Renaissance man, he kind of blew me out of the water with this record Because the Internet. Granted, the concept of the record is essentially trolling you with no purpose, but aside from that, the flows, the instrumentals, and the eccentricities from Donald shine brightest on this record compared to anything else he put out. Moving on to number 46, we have Sturgill Simpson and A Sailor's Guide to Earth. Country albums, they may come few and far between on this list, but if you prefer rock elements mixed with the country, making it a little easier to tolerate, A Sailor's Guide is a great starting point to get into that genre. I mean, other people would argue that pop and country sound best together, but to each their own. Regardless, if you want to avoid the monotony and the homogeneous mainstream country, everything on this album is great, from the Nirvana cover to the thrilling and stomping closing track. Sturgill's third studio album is worth its praise, even turning some heads at the Grammys for Album of the Year nomination. Can't recommend this one enough, as well as this next one at number 45. This is Joy as an Act of Resistance by Idles. This came out in 2018, back when I was a little baby reviewing albums still. But thinking back to that time when I was reviewing it, I think I got it right. It's just an assault on your ears. The dynamics, the bizarre yet satisfying vocal deliveries. It is certainly post-punk that scratches every itch of angst that you could possibly have. Now, it goes without saying that my YouTube channel would not be where it is today if it weren't for me talking about One Direction, at least as much as I do with the solo acts. Harry Styles is easily the rock star of that group, and he's the one I'm putting here at number 44 for his debut. This is self-titled, by the way. Just such an epic and grandiose grand album. Yes, his sound and style were shaped by the glam rock greats of Elton John and David Bowie, but Harry is starting his solo career off on a high that, even between this record and his sophomore effort, it was such a tough choice for this list. Next up at 43, we have Cage the Elephant and Mellophobia. Lyrically, this album is interesting. Frontman Matt Schultz is writing from that perspective of being possessed by a woman. This 2013 release is full of zany, off-the-wall rock as suggested by the cover, but while doing that, it's also throwing in some of the most consistent and iconic songs that the band has in their back catalog. Of course, only adding to the chaotic narrative of the music industry in the 2010s. Moving on from there, at number 42, it's obviously The Meaning of Life with Drizzy Drake, The Sixth God, Aubrey Graham. In this spot, we have the mixtape. Yes, kind of cheating here. It's, if you're reading this, it's too late. Out of everything that Drake put out last decade, this was at a time where, like, he was hyped up to be the biggest and best kind of rapper, but he also kind of defended that too and actually lived up to the hype. Personally, I think this is the most consistent collection of songs that Drake has put out, ironically a mixtape. Yes, it's predating meme Drake, but there still are some songs on here that are meme worthy. Not that that's criteria for this list, but while being able to be a meme and being personal and still having songs sound great, this is Drake. This is good. Gotta give kudos to Noah Shabib, though. He comes in clutch with the dark and dusky OVO, R&B, and hip-hop beats. Moving on, number 41, we have one of two albums from the English singer-songwriter on this list. I love her record, 25. It is by Adele. The rustic and vintage sound that this thing emits, the sad and depressing ballads, the vocal performances, they are incredible, and the 2010s, it would be hard to mention without bringing up Adele. Number 40 is from a band that didn't really look like they were going to be coming back from much. This is a comeback album from MGMT with Little Dark Age. You would think earlier in the decade they would have just been left out of the conversation for the rest of it, but they released a synth-pop record riddled in nostalgia that caught my attention as one of my favorite records in 2018. On the record, there is such a knack for great songwriting, catchy melodies, and a self-awareness that the clock, yes, it keeps ticking, and MGMT, they will eventually be forgotten. Even though I bet a lot of people have already forgotten about them. Either way, great songwriting. Another female artist is the focal point for this next pick at number 39. It is the third studio album by Florence and the Machine, How Big, how blue, how beautiful. The commanding vocals, the hints of gospel and folk make this album my favorite from this group. And the accolades, they were definitely there too, with 5 Grammy Award nominations. Moving on, yet another artist to make multiple appearances on this list. His first entry, it goes to Father John Misty and his sophomore record under that moniker, I Love You Honey Bear. The love song is essentially revamped on this record to be satirical, to be biting with social commentary. It is so hard to pass up, along with the fusing of folktronica and baroque pop. On to number 37, we have Miami Memory by Alex Cameron. This record is the latest addition to my list, believe it or not, and it was one that I completely just never heard in 2019. So yes, I am human. I miss out on great albums too when they come out. What I didn't miss out with though on this number 37 album, and how it slid up so high with it being such a new release, there is a timeless sound on this record. The songwriting is incredible, and apparently Alex wrote for The Killers. All signs are pointing in the right direction. And yeah, I could listen to this a few more times over the years, and I could see it going higher. It could climb higher. At number 36, we have Jeff Rosenstock's Worry. This energetic and short, tight 17-track punk album is a must listen from top to bottom. Not only is it chaotic, but it is also packaged into some of the most over-the-top, crazy choruses that you will ever sing your friggin' heart out to. At number 35, we have Kesha and her album Rainbow. This is a lot of female empowerment on here for the ages. Kesha is one of those transformative artists of the 2010s that not only branched out sonically by incorporating numerous genres and collaborating with eagles of death metal of all groups, but she also let herself go as well with fun moments. Painfully sad points as well on Rainbow, just breaking down the barrier between the listener and the artist so comfortably. Number 34, one of the pop albums that I enjoyed immensely this past decade. It is Unorthodox Jukebox by Bruno Mars. Landing on the radio many times, from the singles Locked Out of Heaven to Treasure to When I Was Your Man, Bruno Mars, he mixes in R&B, rock, funk, soul, disco, and reggae on an album that proves to be his most diverse and easily my favorite from him. Keeping things similar with the big pop names out there, we have the pivotal transition between country and pop of Taylor Swift on Red. It's funny because Taylor's songwriting about past lovers, it can sometimes bring on an eye roll or two, but she nailed the eclectic influences on this record. Arena rock, dance, folk. Despite being so diverse, Swift didn't lose the edge for writing snappy hooks, well-written songs, and just engrossing her audience with a likable sound. And that's coming from me. I used to be a hater of Taylor Swift at the beginning of the decade. A lot of things can change over a decade, even your music taste. Also, last decade, I was opened up to hip-hop because I was only previously exposed to rock. I know a lot of fans will defend the Saturation trilogy being better than this, but I really love Brockhampton's Iridescence. This is here at number 32 on my list, and this one resonated with me just because I think it's like the major label debut, I guess. It actually got to me and I heard about it at the time it was put out as well. But in addition to that, I feel like they were well equipped to have these heartfelt and mature lyrics, not only to deal with the departure of Amir Van, but also to go into a studio like Abbey Road to put together a very cohesive, tight-knit project. That's how you make your major label debut. At number 31, if you're a Carly Rae Jepsen stan, this album needs no introduction. It is Emotion, and as easily as I wish I could just call it a flawless pop album and just move on, I do have some things to clear up because I sounded like a bit of a hypocrite in my dedicated album review of her. So yeah, don't listen to what I say in the beginning of that video. I must have been on drugs or something. At number 30, it's another great pop album. This is full of ballads, incredible vocals, piano, heartfelt lyrics that will tear you up. Arguably Adele's magnum opus, it is 21. Sound and Color by Alabama Shakes is taking the 29th spot because of the roots rock on this album. You'll instantly want to put them on a pedestal. Songs like Don't Wanna Fight, Give Me All Your Love, those songs can go toe to toe with some of like the classic rock songs I listened to growing up thanks to my parents. Bless Brittany Howard Howard and for having such a great voice that even fooled me when I first listened to their debut album. I thought she was a guy. Such a young and naive person I used to be. Ugh. At number 28, we have one of the most exciting rock bands to come out of Iceland last decade. A/B, or AB, is a remarkable entry and highlight for rock music. The versatility between the howls and soft, tender falsettos, the sinister and tuneful guitar riffs, everything screams replay. Honestly, if the first song, No Good, doesn't capture your attention, I don't know what will. Start at the beginning, let the magic reveal itself, and tell me what you think. Now at 27, we can't really talk about the 2010s without being genreless, and with that conversation, you can't forget to talk about 21 Pilots. Trench is in this spot here, and while many of their earlier albums were kind of scatterbrained and lacking that cohesiveness, Trench is truly a benchmark for alternative acts of today. With that in mind, it is essentially a blueprint for them to follow. You can still be as eclectic as you want. You can talk about religion, you can talk about mental health, you can talk about anything you want in your music. You can have any sound too, it's just when 21 Pilots do it this great and they package it all up into Trench, it's just, there's something intangible about it. Another album that many people would expect to be on this list, maybe not as low as the 26th position, nevertheless, it is here. Honestly, still an incredible album. This is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. This is a masterful artistic statement and vision from the visionary Kanye himself. Very extravagant and gorgeous. The features on here have bite and elevate the lyrical messages. The curation from Ye delivers on all fronts. To me, though, it's just not the cream of the crop of Kanye albums last decade. That honestly might be the most controversial thing I can say in this video, but make sure you're on the lookout for other Kanye albums to come. Starting the top 25, we have Foo Fighters and their record Wasting Light. Foo Fighters, they've always been a band that I've appreciated. They're solid, they're consistent with putting out singles. I just never really had an album that I could listen to all the way through and be amazed. And that's when Wasting Light happened and I was like, oh yeah, Dave Grohl, he can write more than just an anthemic single. I'm sorry, Dave Grohl, you're more than that. Some of the most emotionally gratifying songs I've heard from him are all on this album, from Rope to I Should Have Known to Walk. I connect with all these on a spiritual level. It's crazy. Number 24, Parquet Courts with Wide Awake. This record, it feels like it was put out yesterday because it's still so fresh in my memory reviewing it. Just the pep in its step, the tight-knit chemistry, the groovy, the abrasive yet still melodic sound all over this. All these things come together and will make it stand out for years to come from now. I can sense that. I can actually predict that. Yeah, make sure you check it out if you haven't already done so. Number 23 sees Hayley Williams and the gang bless the world with Paramore's After Laughter. This one is deceivingly upbeat, uplifting, and danceable. Everything I need to cry with the lyrics too, because dance crying is a thing. The 22nd album on my list, it's going to one of the most inquisitive indie folk records that has ever been presented to me in my lifetime. This is Helplessness Blues by Fleet Foxes. The songwriting on here, the instrumentation, it's all so beautiful. I can't stress that enough, by the way, but the most irresistible part of Helplessness Blues is easily the vocal arrangements. They will grab a tight hold of your heart and won't let go anytime soon. Number 21, we have the Canadian alt-rock group's 7th studio album, Art of Doubt by Metric. The guitars are making a thrashing return, the synthesizers meet them in harmony, and this is a true spectacle to behold. Smart lyrics with a tinge of sadness. I apparently can't get enough of bittersweet songs. Personal ones too, because Art of Doubt has got a lot of those that are mesmerizing. Most of the songs even clock in around 4, maybe 5 minutes, a couple at 6, but don't worry, it's all worth your time, it's all worth the investment. It's a rewarding experience. Now, in case you didn't catch my drift already on After Laughter and Art of Doubt, the masochism is real, okay? Punk music doesn't get better than what Pup put out in the number 20th spot on my list with Morbid Stuff. I swear, every idea on this album speaks to me, speaks to my core. I wish I could have just written one song off of here, and then you have Pup putting all 11 on the same album. How did they do that? On top of this, any mood, I can listen to this album. If I'm angry, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, doesn't matter. Moving on to number 19, it is another Canadian artist. Surprise, surprise. This time it is Arkells, cementing themselves as this slick band and very fun group to sing along with rock anthems. This is on their record High Noon, came out in 2014. This one is jam-packed with their greatest hits. At this point of their career, in my opinion, we have the playful lyrics, we have just an homage to great artists like Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, Genesis, an incredibly crafted album sonically. 18, we have Weezer's best album since Blue and Pinkerton. I think we can kind of agree on that. The Perfect Summer album as well, this came out in 2016. It is the White Album. Sun-blissed songs are on here, timely guitar solos, and a climactic conclusion that is only as happy as it is sad. Sure, Rivers' lyrics are corny and sometimes scientifically inaccurate, but this is the kind of stuff that originally made me fall in love with Weezer. It could make me want to fall in love with them every day again. This next record is haunting, it is harrowing, it is horrifying, it is heartbreaking. Not enough H adjectives are there for me to describe the final record from David Bowie, Black Star. Passing away 2 days following its release, the legacy of Bowie didn't really need another great album, but he gave it to us anyways, one of his finest. And it is really amazing because Bowie, everything he delivers on this album, he does it so candidly, yet throughout his entire career, he's been putting on masks. He's been portraying other personas of Ziggy Stardust. Black Star, though, is a last hurrah that is devastatingly indicative of a fall from life, but will forever have Bowie in shining lights. Moving on, the album of the year at the 56th Grammy Awards didn't really strike a chord with me when it first came out, but now I love it and I appreciate it because it's here at the 16th spot. This is Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. This album grew on me more, grew on me even more. It is so slick, it has those disco vibes all over it, the robotic, futuristic sound, as many Daft Punk fans would be aware of. Just taken to another level, though. I mean, you have those collaborations with Pharrell, that feature from Julian Casablancas, and every other song on here has its moment and deserves to be here. It is euphoric. Now, really the opposite of what I just talked about with Daft Punk. At number 15, we have Tales of America by J.S. Ondara. This is a stripped-back singer-songwriter project full of angelic vocals. Tales of America, obviously like Tales of an Immigrant. Touching stories from Ondara on here. His heart is worn on his sleeve. Each song is moving, and despite having such a minimal aesthetic going for it, both instrumentally and with small arrangements, no gloss, no sheen, no production tricks were needed to make this as high up as it is at number 15. Okay, so this next album is not even in the top 10, and it's a travesty, I know. You might as well cancel me right now. But I'm still going to defend how great this album is. It is a masterpiece in itself. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. This record is the epitome of jazz and hip-hop fusion. It is so socially relevant, too. I just have to give a major shout-out to Kamasi Washington as well for making this so grand and breathtaking as a sonic experience. However, yes, 14th spot, there are better albums in my opinion, just stuff that gravitated towards me. For example, this next record by Tyler, the Creator, it is called Igor. This album came out in 2019, and for an artist to mature as much as Tyler did this last decade, it is breathtaking. I seriously can't think of many other artists that did it to the same degree or extent as Tyler did. And all of that incredibly while still keeping his core fan base close to him. For starters, to compare Igor to Wolf, it's like two completely different artists. artists at this point, and I love Wolf. But for Tyler to tone down the aggressive, the abrasive, essentially the shock factor of Tyler's music, for him to become this empathetic, vulnerable, yet still twisted individual is profound. I never would have guessed in a million years Tyler would become one of the most emotionally deep and insightful artists out there right now. And he put out this record, Igor. Yeah, it's a breakup record. Amazing. Now, at number 12, this album was the album of the year for me in 2019. It doesn't really have much going for it. When you look at it and listen to it, maybe it's just like, oh, it sounds like regular rock. Glorious Sons and A War on Everything. For me, this group is revitalizing rock on every level. If you want to delve deeper beyond what already sounds great to my ears, it's like you can read along with the lyrics, and you might be choked up by that finale, that final track, Pink Motel. Keeping things going, 11, more controversy. It's Kendrick. I am putting Kendrick above Kendrick, yes. We have Good Kid, Mad City. It's a hot take, I know, being better than T-Pab. And I don't know, I'm not here to disturb the balance of the universe, but I just think the songs on here are better. With the exception of The Blacker the Berry, I think most songs on Good Kid, Mad City go a lot harder. I can crank them as loud as I want, and I can never get sick of them, honestly. Not that I can get sick of To Pimp a Butterfly. I just think that the stretch of songs in a row as well helps out with Good Kid. Just bam, bam, all after one another. Nothing's really even worth skipping. There's no beating around the bush. We're getting straight to the point. No jazzy instrumentals, which are amazing on T-Pab, yes. Just at the end of the day, I prefer Good Kid. Maybe you'll appreciate the top 10 more just to get an idea of what my personal taste is in music. To start off that top 10, we have the James Murphy Project. It is LCD Sound System with This Is Happening. This album is as danceable as it is fun, quirky, downright crazy in some points. This is dance punk that will not disappoint, and it's always great to hear a good come-up story, so if the music isn't necessarily your cup of tea, at least look up James Murphy and see where he came from and what he's done to get to this point. It is amazing. At number 9, it is the long winding journey and equally long album title. Are you ready for it? I Like It When You Sleep, For You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It. Yeah. A mouthful and a very long album that will most likely scare you away upon first listen. In my opinion, I think this is the 1975's glossy magnum opus. Thematically, yes, it is all over the place. It discusses a lot, from religion to love, loss, infidelity, nihilism, fame. It's a lot to stomach and digest over 80 minutes worth of music. But this album just came along at the right time for me, I think. I was there at the right time, right place. I was off at university for the first time, left my home, and it's like, first year, everything's so scary. Well, this album here helped me get through it. A very personal description, a lot of bias there, and it won't really connect with many people for the same reason, and that's what I appreciate about these lists anyways. Maybe number 8 will make up for it. Because yes, number 8 is Currents by Tame Impala, a psychedelic alt-rock album that is lush, hypnotic, sensational. John Lennon hasn't sounded this good since the Beatles. Wait, what? At number 7, and with this you'll start to recognize the reign of power that the year 2017 had. I think along with 2016, those were like my favorite years for music. But more about this spot, number 7, we have the underside of Power by Algiers. This is a band that doesn't get enough praise and doesn't get enough attention. I know they have their diehard fan base, but we gotta get this out here. It is post-punk, it is gospel, it is blues, it is noise rock, a whole blend of sounds that are at the forefront of being cutting edge. At number 6, it's another underappreciated artist in my eyes. It's Young the Giant and their record Home of the Strange. This album, along with Tales of America by J.S. Ondara, I feel like these two records are the focal point for immigrant stories in the 2010s. Young the Giant, though, they're an alt-rock group, and they're one of my favorite bands at this point in time. I was fortunate to see them live to support this album, obviously putting the icing on the cake, but there are no No skippable songs on Home of the Strange either. There are incredibly beautiful vocals from Samir Gadia, one of my favorite vocalists. There are songs that are versatile, just some of them being minimal and acoustic, others being danceable and upbeat. A fantastic album that reads like a story, and once you give it a try, I think you'll be happy because there's something there for everybody. Number 5, Kids See Ghosts. Kids See Ghosts. I'm saying it twice because it's both an album and an artist. This is the duo of Kanye West and Kid Cudi, a holistic dream of an album. The production is meticulous on here, the lyricism is phenomenal, the melodies are enchanting. Granted, it is a shorter album, but it still satisfies as if it were a 40 or 50 minute kind of record. Besides, a shorter time just gives you more time to listen to it, right? The antithesis of short is long, and Father John Misty, Pure Comedy, is here at number 4. It is a slog to get through, I can admit that, but if you give yourself patience, give yourself time with this record, it might grow on you. This record lyrically is so wondrous, it is so spot on with the depiction of the modern world and all of its shortcomings. It's all about the dark, cruel, depressing world that we're in, so tread lightly. And I totally get if you want to avoid it. I totally get if it's going to bum you out, especially from a pretentious white guy and I'm the one pushing it. But hey, music can be great sometimes if you give it a chance. Keeping themes similar with the modern world, we have What It's Like to Grow Up in Modern Times. Number 3 goes to Car Seat Headrests, Teens of Denial. Now, I am speaking out of bias. I was a teen of denial at the time of this record's release. And yeah, I can definitely empathize with the confusion and all the identity crises that many teenagers will also relate with. Musically, Teens of Denial, though, is dissonant. It is lo-fi. We got lots of slacker performances on there, punk attitude as well. The vocals from Will Toledo, they're a bit of an acquired taste, but this record is still magical. Much like number 2, it was one that I grew up with. It just feels like it hits so close to home. Not actually like I was there in Akron, Ohio. I'm far from it. But number 2 goes to Brothers by the Black Keys. This is the 70s scuzzy garage rock masterpiece from Dan Auerbach and Patrick Carney. Something about this duo I just can't get enough of, and they always put out their best material on the heels of a divorce. And this record is just that. The most cohesive album that they've put out to date, in my opinion. The most consistent highs of songs, just an incredible listen from start to finish. Taking the cake, number 1, we have a record that I hope some of you might know what it is, what's coming. It is Melodrama by Lorde. This record, pop perfection, okay? Pop perfection. Catchy hooks, pristine production, it will be fresh for years to come. And it's weird because it's so hard-hitting at times, it gets to be downright grimy, and it kind of points towards that trap sound that would dominate the latter half of the 2010s without actually being trap itself. On top of that, this record is conceptually fantastic. It is a breakup record that can be listened to when sad or happy. For me, it helped me through some of my worst times of the last decade, but also elevated me to greater highs when I was really happy. Contextually, for the 2010s, it is only fitting that we're talking about the loveless generation, exemplifying everyone's need to summarize stories into supercuts, trying to find an ideal state of comfort, which is only futile to be chasing after. Lyrically, Melodrama is beautiful all around. Themes of dancing, love, and separation. And all of this, you would think you would need one of the oldest and wisest songwriter out there to put it all together. But no. Lorde is kind of a prodigy if we're stretching the definition. She was 16 when she put out Pure Heroine, 19 years of age when she put out this sophomore release. And yes, she's not doing it alone either. We got to appreciate the creative forces that joined together between Lorde and Jack Antonoff on Melodrama as well. All the songs that were on here, they came out perfectly. Just great. The piano ballads, just some of the best songs that I've heard in my life. Liability, you might be familiar with that one because I already had it on my best songs of the decade list. And yes, Melodrama is melodramatic. I am being melodramatic here. I don't know. I don't even care if the Grammys don't even recognize this greatness because it is great in my eyes. And there we have it. I made it through. I survived. I can now lie down. I can take a nap. Thank God. There is the list. Done. Moving on. With that, we are concluding the 2010s special series that I'm doing here. Make sure you guys sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, what some of your favorite albums are, what they were from the past decade, what you're looking forward to in the future, what you think of this video. Hey, just say anything. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way through, you guys are the real deal. If you'd like to leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town, I'd appreciate that very much. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a rockin' day.